you try to find out another perspective. We're mainly talking to those who feel kind of lost.
I'm actually not pressed for money. I have quite a wealthy wife. So it's true to an extent that we recognize it as, oh yeah, that could happen.
Hi everyone, and today we're a sort of a final episode for understanding the first basics of relevance realization. And as a quick reminder, we talked about Dialogos as a method of relevance realization when in the process of communicating with the other person. So in these videos, we try to show how it works, how we talk about things, and we're trying to consider that there is another person listening to this dialogue. So we try to make comments and explain what is happening, where we are moving, why we are moving there, and so on. So this is how we tend to work, in the sort of semi-working situation when we talk to other people. So, and as a quick reminder, so we talk about Dialogos as a method of relevance realization. So we talked about dia, which means like through, and then the logos, which is a pattern. And there is an important indication that this is the meta pattern. So it's like the patterns of the master pattern, or the patterns of the patterns. And that contains three elements inside of it. The good, which we discussed in the first episode. The beauty, that was the second episode. And right now we're moving to the third component, which is called the truth. And I don't really know anything about it. So I would rely on you sort of trying to explain me what is it all about and how does it work in general. Okay, so the concept of truth in the method of Dialogos within the conceptual framework of relevance realization as a process of sense making or meaning creation for yourself. So again, we're mainly talking to those who feel kind of lost in this variety of everything that is happening, a variety of everything that is being offered to you, as a sort of a ready-to-use product in the sense-making sense. So it's a sort of a awkward combination, but I mean, that's the way it is. Okay, and coming back to the truth with my reflector, Max. Let's move on.
So stupid.
To an extent, right? I mean, how would you call it? I mean,
I don't know. That's the point, right?
If you look through the variety of available terms for this, I don't know, reflector so far seems to be one of the decently explained.
Yeah, sort of. But I mean,
if you find something better, you could use it.
I've been trying to do that for the past 2 years, about 2.5 years maybe.
Maybe we'll come up to it somehow.
Well, yeah, it should be it should be developed in the process. I can't really come up with it on my own. It's a new field, right? It's a new developing field.
And it's a complex field, I would say.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's not even difficult.
We don't really know what we're doing. That's the whole, now we can retrospectively look at people who were going through major changes in let's say in the West. That's the closest to us, right? But then we will look at them and we think that they knew what they were doing, right? Then we think that, oh, clearly, like those people should have done that because they've done it, right? We know it. But now we're going through a process which is similar to where they were, but there's no manual.
For some reason, I think about Sigmund Freud in this case.
Yeah, well, perfect example. Now we think, oh, that's a model, that's a structure, that's that technique, a set of techniques, and he didn't really know what the fuck he was doing. He was like, I'm feeling something. I know something is to be discovered, and I have no idea what it is. but I should pursue it. I should go for it. I should go through this experience, like to come out on the other side. He didn't know. He didn't know.
A fun fact about psychoanalysis, I have to mention that. I talked to some psychoanalytics, and they say, you know what? Why the Freudian theory got stuck? For a very simple reason. Freud had a family to feed. So that's why he had to stick to the model that could have been clinically relevant and could have been applied. While in comparison to him, Carl Jung, he didn't have a family to feed because I think he married a wealthy wife. So he got a bit more wild with his ideas.
In the movie, it's funny. There's a movie about two of them. I don't really remember what's it called. There's Keira Knightley playing the patient of Jung. Jung is played by Fassbender. And the Freud is played by Hugo Weaving, who played Aragorn in Lord of the Rings.
How did I miss this movie? Come on.
Me too. I just watched it like 4 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
no, that guys, no. Yeah. No, so that's something to watch, I guess.
And then there is no mentioning it because when they have this scene in the movie where Freud talks to Jung and it's like they talk about money and like somehow it comes up and Jung is like, well, I'm actually not pressed for money. I have quite a wealthy wife, so I can, and the Freud had this, like, I would imagine it could have happened. Like, obviously we don't know, but like, knowing how narcissistic Freud is, like, I can easily imagine he was like upset, like in the movie he was like kind of, he wasn't pleased, but was down that you had more money, but it was funny.
Yeah, and here we talk about some meta structures when actually people are actually worried about whatever to defend their basic needs. Oh, this Maslow pyramid again? Not again, not again. Anyway, okay. Truth.
Yeah, what about it?
Yeah, tell me what about it. And the concept of logos and this meta pattern, what does it mean? So I don't want to go into generic definitions of truth, right? And build up anything additional in addition to what is not needed to be built on it, which means your subjective interpretation of this.
We could start here. We could start with this movie, for example, conveniently. Did it happen like this? Probably not.
I don't know.
Most of it probably hasn't happened like this. Like it didn't. Like a lot of but the story is true, right?
I guess so.
I mean, it's true to an extent that we recognize it as, oh yeah, that could happen. That could, like, there is a world where oh, now wait, it's some.
So it seems like you're trying to move
slide, huh?
You're trying to move it into the direction so the truth is the fact that could not be denied to an extent. But at the same time, it's not an absolute thing, it's a relative thing. Because when you're mentioning the examples of the stories in the movie, did it happen like 1-to-1? Like exactly like this?
No.
Most probably no.
For sure not.
But the idea itself, which is, let's say, the concept that is roughly hierarchically a little bit higher, that includes this. This is something that sort of happened, quote unquote.
It like
it kind of like proves the relativity of truth as such.
I have this example. Is it true that Gandalf was 4.5 feet tall, lived in a house underground, and liked, I don't know, sleeping 10 hours a day, like at 10? Is it true?
How should I know?
No, like no. Listen again. Is Gandalf 4.5 feet tall? Lives it like no? Come on.
Ah,
Is it
that's what
true?
you mean. Okay.
Is it true?
Wait.
No,
Okay.
it's not. Right? Gandalf is a tall
Okay.
wizard with the head, but does he exist? Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, he does. We talk about him. He makes like he talks to us through the pages of the book or through the screen and shows us his example, right? We follow his example. We want to be wise as Gandalf. We want to be, that majestic and Gandalf the White and all of that. Yeah, we want to be like that. He affects us, right? He it's like does he exist in the sense that we as materialist thinkers, I follow that. I mean, I come from nihilistic sort of materialistic
Worldview.
nihilistic worldview because I've been depressed for like 10 years, right? Because of that. It's not fun. By that definition, it's not true. Like Gandalf does not exist. And it's true. It's it's irrelevant to this point of view, whether it's true or not, right? That Gandalf is 4.5 feet tall or not. But for some reason, he keeps like being there, right? He keeps existing in our minds and in our stories, and that pattern of sort of wise again, gray bearded, right? Now that would be Dumbledore, Merlin, well, just the you could call it archetype, right?
That's what I was gonna say.
What
This is an archetype, yes. And if we try to define the archetype in like non-related to any scientific or non-scientific field, this is the model to an extent. Model figure.
We call them models. We call them role models.
Yeah.
We follow them. We try to inhibit their behavior. We try and inhibit them in ourselves and try to kind of understand what's it like to be and what's it like to be wise, right?
It's a relatable figure due to its qualities that
are those qualities true? It means like if we want to follow them, like if it affects so many people, does it mean it's true?
So it seems like we are moving into this domain, let's call it that way. No, I don't want to call it subjective and objective because
those dichotomies are fake. Those are no.
I mean, well, I could prove that it's not fake, but I mean, what I'm trying to say in this case, that we differentiate that or distinguish that concept, and we still, the concept of truth goes beyond the factual event, if you can call it that.
Even the fact itself, the fact we don't really know what the fact means.
That's the thing. I mean, that's again talking to dogmatic religious people, right? The way how it's being syllogistic. Well, I have to mention this, okay? Syllogistics, the part of logics where a very simple example, let's say the snow is white, the car is white, it means the car is snow. That's the syllogistics, right? And that's a very linear, very abrupt, and very limited idea of connecting dots, so to say, for different reasons. And then for me, what it seems like, again, since I'm more of a neuroscientist rather than philosopher, right? And the idea and the notion of truth has been developing in philosophy as well as in theology, right? I mean, it's sort of in parallel aspects. I mean, it's quite complex things for me to kind of bring up some specific examples. But we are coming to the idea of something that exists, it seems to me, the truth. And the fact is that if something exists, at least for one person on this earth, that could be truth.
I think it
So it's a
will
product of
necessarily
creation.
exist for many others as well.
May or may not.
I think it's universally accepted pattern of whatever it is. If I recognize it as truth, you will too.
If you again, we're moving into this prove it to me, right?
Yeah.
And then we already agreed that this is not always relevant and not always necessary. But then again, so the Gandalf example, okay, it's the figure. So we have the author who wrote about it, right? There's a screen character that we could relate to, Harry Potter, okay. And we have factual things. Let's say the eruption of the volcano, for example, somewhere. It's also if it happened in the past. So when we talk about, oh, that's where I went. If we talk about truth, we usually, and we, in the context of trying to prove somebody, we look for some sort of evidence, right? I think we can call it. And there are, I think it's nice right now to talk about the paradigm of doubt, right? And the paradigm of faith, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I found this a very interesting distinction. So again, we
the
talked about the blind faith.
hermeneutic of what's it again? Just said it.
Yeah, basically, yes. And it's interesting in this context, right? Because why? Because evidence is for doubt to approve and validate the fact of something. That's
there's hermeneutics of suspicion and hermeneutics of belief.
Suspicion.
Yeah, it's decision there.
Yeah, when I talk about this, I usually mention the example of moving faster than the speed of light. So based on all the evidence that we have, so far it is not possible. But at the same time, that's kind of interesting to connect that with relevance realization. So even if I don't doubt and I truly believe that it is possible to move faster than the speed of light in the context of this universe that we live in, then I will constantly be searching for the ways, creative or non-creative, deterministic or non-deterministic, linear versus non-linear, but I have this belief and nothing can actually change that. At the same time, again, what we have talked about, it's necessary to take into consideration the reality, but at the same time, this consideration should not be a limiting factor. Otherwise, and if we move into the suspicion, right, suspicion in this case, there are too many factors that force
too many factors to count, too many things
it's a little different. It's compute is a different thing, but I'm trying right now in a more, how do you call it, humane way. So there are too many things that would prevent me from doing this, right? So if I'm convinced that nothing can move faster than the speed of light, why would I even
look?
Yeah, why would I even look? Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But and those guys who are trying to look into something that is evidently not possible, they are usually being looked at. Okay, I mean, before they were burned on the fire, but right now there's like, okay, play your game. I mean, do whatever, but you're not going to be stoned or whatever for not following the rules.
Different ways of
dispensing
with the person.
The world
these days
is changing, actually. Even like 10 to 15 to 20 years ago, they could have been like stoned for different reasons. But right now, I don't know. At least in the science, right, they could be canceled. But people still continue to do that. I mean, they limit the resources. I mean, they get less resources to do that. Right? So it's another topic for speculation. But anyway, what I'm getting this to is we talked a little bit about faith and the belief. So basically, it's a sort of a contradictory belief to the evidence. So which makes the truth.
Is it? I don't know.
It is. I don't know why not, because I mean, you have to be, and then you have to be brave, you have to have courage, to move against the streamline, and that's where relevance realization comes in. I mean, we have so many historical examples of people who have been adopted, right? Or that they or whatever they were saying was not perceived as serious, and later on it turned out like this story about the bacteria and
moving your hands with the
washing hands. Yes, exactly.
Well, not moving, washing hands.
Yes, there's some thing. Yes, I think that I read it somewhere about the Vienna birth-giving homes, how do you call them?
Yeah.
Hospitals, right? And people, they were, most of the women were willing to go to like regular nurses rather than academics,
because
they were they had
digging in corpses and then
yes, and then directly
they
the blood got infected and the death rate was significantly high. The guy, I keep forgetting the name. He was exactly using our terms, was cancelled for his idea.
And then he ended up in, I think, like a mental home.
So, I think eventually people started washing hands. But I mean, these days it doesn't happen like this too much. At least it seems to me. People
can get cancelled in different ways.
In different ways for different reasons.
And yeah.
And I don't want to bring up these racial topics and racial jokes. Whatever, everybody has to be political obedience, political correctness, So, but I mean, still, I'm just based on the EU, let's say, science world. I mean, so you will be looked like on a weirdo, sometimes. But again, there are so many little factors that you need to consider. Let's say if I will do the research and I'll dig into some contradictory topic, most probably I will be perceived as a guy who, well, is not a cuckoo, right? But who decided to waste his time, researching. But it's not going to be looked like. Most probably I will not be canceled unless I start talking about something like that is not perceived as completely scientific. I would say I would come out for the conference for neuroscience and say, well, actually the God lives in your cortex, for example. It's a tricky game. I wouldn't do that anyway. It's not depending on reputation value. But again, what I'm trying to say, the world right now becomes easier. And one of the simplest examples in this case, like everybody can open the YouTube channel and start posting on ideas, and the followers will be found. In this case, and that's what actually we are trying to do here, right? So, and the media is no longer controlled by single units where you can decide the agenda, what is being shown to people, which is a nice thing. And then we run into the problem of the presence of such enormous amount of content. So when we talk about truth these days, then I think we need to add the temporal perspective, like how was the truth defined back then, like 200 years ago? And I would assume it's more of a perceptual evidence, like the fact that could be touched and evidenced. But right now, considering the new discoveries in quantum mechanics, right, in quantum physics, we question whatever we have been convinced about before, and it's a transition period. So the notion of truth in this case is also changing. That's why I find it very complicated to talk about this topic. Because
it's not like those two were easy as well, right? But this one,
I mean, this one in comparison to those one, at least let's say in those, when we talk about the good and the beauty, there are so, how to call them, like the points on which you could rely, and you could see the evidence, and it's kind of crystal clear. So, but in this context, even thinking how, let's say, Verwecke could have thought about defining this, it's still very complicated and requires clarification that we might not even be capable of providing in this case. But I mean, nothing prevents us from trying to speculate on this, having our own background knowledge and trying to apply that into, at least to be able to come to a sort of a rough definition of truth by the end of an hour that we have started here. Or not, who knows? But I mean, it's I'm thinking while I'm talking right now, and actually it's like a void, we have the truth is not absolute, right? These days the truth is relative for sure, and this is, we cannot use the idea of, let's say, the majority reference, so-called, so the more people can kind of find evidence about this or no. And we're still looking for evidence. And if I start talking about science, types of designs that are being used to prove the evidence, and there are so many subtopics that we could dive in, trying to speculate on the truth, that the only thing you come in or you end up with is that there are too many little factors that have to be considered that could completely change the truth. So, and
The truth or the specific expected result that is perceived to be true at the moment, truth at the moment, as truth at the moment.
we need to explain that again.
Is it the, because he said the truth, right?
Yeah, because that's something we are trying to discuss here, right?
Yeah. But is it, would it be the truth, or there's something that is considered to be truth at this particular moment from this particular perspective? Because I think the truth is not relative.
Then try to roll on into this direction.
Well,
Try
to
to roll
me,
it out.
like as we said, there's like sort of, you could call it an equation, right? If the thing is beautiful, the thing is good, means it's true.
For you.
Well,
Well, then,
if we already talked about beauty as a unifying, not subjective, but all unifying pattern, yeah. We talked about the goodness. It's also base unifying pattern, right? Together, they create truth. So how does truth become relative then if these two are like all unifying patterns, and then truth, what is it?
because there is a
Not?
one big factor, I mean, that prevents, I mean, this is an example of syllogistics that you're making.
Okay.
The direct logic, which it's usually hard to argue with.
No, but
If-
like, is it?
if I-
Well, that's what I'm asking. Like, how is, does it become relative or does it not?
I would insert here this big notion of what is being called the individual subjective experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so far as I understand truth, within this context, it is still relative. Then the question is, could we think of some examples where we perceive something as good,
Mm-hmm.
something as beautiful, and what does it mean to be true in this context?
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe we could look up some more paths
Mm-hmm.
to go on or to continue moving if we decide on this. So when we talked about beauty, we decided so the landscapes, right? Natural landscapes are universally perceived as something beautiful. The goodness to spend time outside in nature is a good thing. So like overall goodness, that's a functional thing as we discussed back then. So it kind of helps you out to calibrate with the environment that you live in because you're set to live in this environment. I mean, in this context, it doesn't matter. Is it set or is it the product of adjustment, so to say?
It's both.
Like it's always both, right? Because we didn't know where it started, right? And we are not defending the creationist hypothesis, by the way. Oh,
come on.
Not my.
You are not. I am.
You're ruining the conversation because it's a completely different conversation. No, I mean, right now we are just trying. We have the fact of things happening like this, and we still need to go a long way before we started speculating about this theory, right? What's creationist versus non-creationist? If we say creationist, I started this. That's why I want to. I don't want to go there. It will get messy. I want whoever is with us at the moment to follow where we are heading with the concept of truth and this individual subjective experience. Okay, landscaping. So what is truth in this case, right? So spending time outside is a truthful activity. And then how do we interpret that? Does it mean we have to move out from the houses that we've built and try to live in the nature? Or do we have to make nature a big part of our life or interaction with the landscapes and whatever has been made by the way, last time I wanted to comment talking about the beauty, it's just my subjective experience and modern art.
Oh yeah, there's no beauty in it.
Okay, because I think whatever was created by the nature, like always beautiful. Whatever was created by the human as an interpretation, probably doesn't really matter as far as now. It lacks something
Mhm.
that lacks.
What is it? This,
I'm thinking whether it's like when I go to Louvre, I love the Greek statues.
Mhm.
It's,
Yeah.
but I mean, they're all patternized, and the some works
For
are.
some reason, they're still gorgeous, and beautiful.
I don't know the faces. They're like all the same. But I mean, for me, what I find beautiful in this context, I said I didn't remember about this during the last conversation, but for me, I just imagine the guy living in ancient Greece, having this huge, homogeneous piece of marble,
Yeah.
and just doing this with such precision and with such beauty. I mean, it's just that's the beauty. Like that's the holistic perception of the beauty in this case for me,
Yeah.
right? And I find it beautiful
Yeah.
not because it's beautiful the way it's being perceived. It's beautiful in the context it was created.
Yeah, it's a funny experience because when I sculpt, uh, I I keep like sculpting, and like when you sculpt, you get into a flow, you get into like pattern of thinking. The thinking goes like really smoothly, and there's a lot of realizations. One of the things that I keep thinking about, I think it was Michelangelo who said, like that he was, or I think maybe it's an apocryphal story, but like, how did you make David? Well, I kept chipping away until David stood there. Like everything that's not David should go. Like I keep chipping away, right, at the marble until just that David is there. Like there's no more to chip away, right? It's like you chip away. That's not David. That just what was that wasn't David, right? I chip away again. That wasn't David either because it should go. Like for some reason it went away. Like it's it's a piece of marble, but it's not David, right?
I think it's a simplification.
Well,
but at the same time, it's too
well,
broad.
but it's still kind of true, right?
Yeah.
Well, whenever I sculpt, I start with a
Mhm.
sphere or with any shape, and I just go at it until I find something. Oh, until I start like following something. Like I'm a discovery sculptor. Like I would call it. There are like structured like they usually say about writers. There are structured writers and there are discovery writers, which means like you build structure before and then you fill it up as you go, or you just write whatever comes to your mind and then you discover your story that way. I'm sort of a discovery sculptor. I'm like I just go at the piece. I don't even know what I'm looking for most of the time.
I would call it exploratory.
Well, yeah, or that.
Actually, I think it's kind of
Yeah.
nice to mention this is the model that we developed based on the existing models. If
Mhm.
we, that's actually this channel was based on this conceptual model as well. That we have the body
Mhm.
sort of a figure, and that is whatever concerns this, and there's the environment.
Mhm.
Whatever concerns the outside, like everything.
Mhm.
And there are three main ways that you could interact with the environment.
Mhm.
What you, based on the level of preference, I would call it that way. And to make it not so complicated, we define three. And first one is analytical.
Mhm.
So you search for existing patterns and try to recombine them.
Mhm.
Second is social. So instead of trying to figure things out, you refer to people
Mhm.
trying to help you out to reflect. I mean, it's just again, it's very rough still. And then exploratory. Exploratory, yes. So that's like when you give it a try and then see the feedback. Give it a try and then see the feedback. So basically, the idea behind this is I see the patterns, but I'm not looking for the existing way to change them. I'm thinking it's a low effort activity for me. I'm
Mhm.
trying to figure out what is the easiest way, what is the shortcut to create this pattern. So
Mhm.
basically, this is exploratory and creativity.
Yeah.
And they could be defined as, major containing activities. Like whatever you do, then you can split them further into smaller operations,
Mhm.
whatever actions whatever you call them.
You can
But I mean, this is like the three
infinitely
big.
differentiated
Yeah.
references.
You have to stop at some point. But I mean, I think it's a nice model, right? And whatever you say is a sort of an exploratory, creative way. So I don't know, but I will see. And this is oh, rigid people. I'm not gonna say. Uh, I come from the environment where I had to, interact with these people, and whenever you bring something innovative, it's usually being perceived like,
Yeah,
we
because it's
have
not average.
we have our own ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
what strikes me the most is not even their sort of this rejectionism to something new. It's just unwillingness to consider it.
It's dogmatism.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
And why I came up with this.
And you recognize this dogmatism very well because you lived with it.
Yeah, that's why I think about functional, dysfunctional. Whenever you go into the dogmatic things, it becomes dysfunctional because you're being static right away.
Yeah, yeah. You try to preserve the state, and the state is the most unstable thing in the world because it's rigid.
Oh, well, here I have to also comment. When people ask me, what did you mean by the statement that you have messaged me like 3 days ago? I don't know. I'm in a completely different state.
You need to
right
get
now.
back to that state.
I need to get back to that state,
Yeah,
and it's an
yeah,
effortful
yeah.
activity. I mean, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
you're lazy. Like, of course you won't do that.
Super lazy. No way. No way I will do this. Like, sorry, I forgot what was that. I mean, let's focus on what right now you feel right now. No, I need to do it. Here the psychologist comes in, and he says, actually, people who go to therapy, think about it, maybe it's you guys, they get stuck in the past. And being stuck in the past takes a lot of resources from you.
Yeah.
And the most problematic thing for me in this regard is that people get stuck about some very small thing that is no longer relevant right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have this example from the train. An old lady sit in the train and listen to them. He keeps saying, I cannot forgive him. I cannot forgive him. I cannot forgive him. I cannot forgive him. Of course, I'm just like, what did he do? He didn't borrow like, I don't know, $10.
Didn't lend it. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
15 or 20 years passed. She keeps that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is another rough example, but that's like,
means it's not about this particular thing. It's about the pattern that she behaves. She remembers that about every situation, every individual, and it's her own like heavy
yeah,
burden.
I mean, people carry them. That's the thing.
Yeah. So,
And it takes a lot of resources trying to process it.
Mhm.
I can give a more personal example, like my uncle, right?
Mhm.
He has some issues with his mother about money. He thinks they stole the money that he earned while serving in the military, because for some reason he could not get that money, only parents could. And when he arrived and asked, where is the money? They said, which money? Where is the money? The boss. And it's been 40 years since then, and until now he needs this, reason to understand why. What happened? Was I, betrayed, or there were no money at all? Who is guilty? And he keeps them, and that ruins him significantly because it's a serious problem for him.
Because it's not about the money; it's about trust.
Well,
Right.
it could be. I didn't dig it, but I mean, we could speculate.
If you think about it, right?
It could be.
By definition, if you live with people, you want to trust them, and if you can't trust them, you can't live with them.
It's not about this case, but I mean, it could be the trust. But
No,
I mean,
no. Just what I'm saying.
I don't want to be, precise about this case because I don't know. It could be.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying it could be trust.
Okay, but
It could be
my.
trust. But I mean,
I'm asking you to look at the meta, like outside
I get that.
the money
could be.
phenomena, because again,
Could be.
Alright.
It could be. It doesn't really matter in this case. But what I'm trying to say, that people get stuck in the past. They use a lot of resources to process that thing, and that does not allow them to broaden the perspective, right? Because all of the resources that should be used for broadening the perspective, they are there in the past.
Yeah.
Then I find it problematic. That's why when people ask me, and that's the state, what was back then, I mean, you know, I don't remember things. I mean, I do remember things, but I don't have access to them like instantly, right? So that's why I'm assuming I have this operant space available to, you know, to process a bit broader perspectives rather than, you know, finding something linear. And based on what we're saying and talking right now, we are still coming to this idea that the truth is actually relative, because there has to be context, there has to be, even though we have universal patterns of for beauty and for goodness, the truth remains relative. And I'm thinking, how can we? Because I mean, there are so many speculations, and that comes from our unawareness. And the truth can only become not relative, but, you know, absolute in the case if you take a stance. And here we come into this example of the observer from the physics, like the particle or the wave. No, what else?
It's both.
It's both, but I mean, if there is an observer or if there is no observer.
No, it's just the way you look at it.
That's what I'm trying
Like
to
if
say.
you look at it on the side, it's a wave. If you turn it, it's a point. Like it's the same thing.
But there's the observer effect.
Yeah, because
and the spin of the photon, it does not exist until there is observer. And when the observer comes, then spin.
Yeah, well, then I don't know. Like
yeah, but I mean, and that's basically what makes the truth relative in this perspective. Is just the stance you're taking. If let's say, okay.
Yeah, look at the.
There are so many
from
examples.
The side, look at the wave from this perspective, right? Well, if you cut it, it becomes a point.
Or again, maybe we're misleading ourselves and everyone else who is with us, and instead of trying to dig out the absolute truth, maybe we should think of some specific example. I don't know, because all of the truth that I can think of, even the ones that are perceptual, I still find them, I mean, relative. But at the same time, relative, here is another important point. Relative does not mean false.
Yeah.
Because again, when we turn to the basic logic, and when we talk about some event, we have true false logic, right?
Yeah, it's not that. But usually for people as well, it's most of the people, it's relative means subjective, meaning like whatever I come up with on the spot. Yeah. Or whatever I feel, and it's usually not the case.
That's the slippery rule, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm so not confident in what I'm trying to say, because whatever because when we talk about subjective individual, yes, but when we talk about relative, it's not subjective.
It's not subjective. It's not subjective. Again, subjective and objective are fake dichotomies.
Go ahead.
Well, what is it? It's Descartes, right? We've talked about Descartes forever. Everybody knows now that the formal logic is not.
I hope everybody knows.
Well, now in this phase, like right where we do this, like again, TLC and everything else, like, and the other people that I mentioned in the first episode, all those we speak that language, right? And we kind of know, like a lot of people talk about Descartes and Kant and all of that. Formal logic structure and like how we think and what we develop our science and how we compute things and how computers come forward with that logical structure, but it's within within the confines of certain like outcomes, like expectation of the outcomes, and so it's a good method, like right. Science is a good method, but it's not the whole method. Like, right, it's just a technique. It's just a tool that is limited by definition. But we made this move over the past 400 years, and we confused map with territory. If you do you kind of
I'm following.
yeah get it? And so we think now that the technique that we're using is the truth, right?
Wait a second. How the technique can be used? The truth. I mean, we're all of this time. I'm thinking about truth as a point, right? It's not a method. It's not the way. So it's a
No, it's a
truthful method.
pattern.
So it's. I mean, I'm still not getting what the truth is. Yes. Honestly, I probably won't figure it out until the end of the episode.
You won't figure it out.
We won't figure it out. But we are having a nice discussion. I'm glad, actually. So yes, I mean, I don't want to switch into the discussion about scientific methods because then I will start talking a lot, and I will not be able to cut them. So, but again, I want.
Don't cut yourself.
I
Don't
want
cut yourself.
No, take me out of this world. Subjective and objective. I mean, it's. I cannot say that this distinction does not make any sense because it perfectly does, and that's the reason why
Yeah,
it
I
prevents
didn't
me.
explain why
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
You want to continue?
Well, it separates experience from reality. Like we think that there's this thing called a book called Blind Spot. Um, of course, the name slips out of my mind, but it basically explains and points out that we, as participants in this world, we exclude ourselves from our observations, and we are like we play this game, right? It's a fake game where we say, I am looking at the thing as an impartial observer, and I'm not affecting it. I am completely objective, right? I'm completely separate from, so I don't have any assumptions. I don't have any bullshit. You have a lot of assumptions and you have a lot of biases starting right away. There's no objective vision, right? There's no vision out of nowhere, right? You can't separate yourself out of the reality you participate in. You are in, right? You're always biased. Like whenever we say the uh, experiment was objective, we try to eliminate bias. We try to be impartial. We try to be observed. It's all wrong. It's just fake. We always participate in reality. We always come with assumptions. We always come with humans. It's a human experience. There's no objective or subjective. I am being in reality right now, through which I'm participating and creating it. It's basic theology, actually. Like it's well, where should I go with this?
I would say.
Should I go into theology?
I would say no because.
Okay.
But I mean, this is too deep that you don't.
I don't think so.
It's because the distinction between objective and subjective makes perfect sense. And for example, I will throw in the perspective from the clinical practice or clinical psychology, for example.
Okay.
All of the symptoms that we measure in clinical psychology or neuropsychology are exclusively subjective. All the pain in the world that you exist, and with the pain, the simplest example is the pain. I mean, you can never.
Wait.
I know what you're gonna.
Hold the horses. Hold it. Wait. If it's all entirely subjective, why then do we have this notion of why do we have this? Did you get it?
That's why I said
if it's all subjective,
you're going
then
too deep.
why do we even have to make a dichotomy, subjective and objective? You're saying it's all. Then it doesn't make sense, right?
Makes sense. It's
Okay, go
the
ahead.
perspective. So I started. All of the symptoms are evaluated as being subjective.
Okay.
An example with the pain is that you can never experience the pain the same way the other individual or person in this world would experience it.
Okay.
It's all very subjective. And then as a trained neurofeedback therapist, for me, I keep now using the statement saying that it seems to me that the entire world within our subjective experience is just a direct representation of the activity of the nervous system.
That's too reductionistic.
To an extent,
Too reductionist.
to an extent, depends on how you look at it. But I mean, the subjective experience that you have is a product of the activity of your nervous system.
It's reductionist. It's a materialist perspective of view. It's old. It's old news.
It's the fact.
What? Again.
It's the fact. I mean, you are binded into this reality, and you have to interact with this. And you have
Again. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing right now.
I didn't finish. It's okay. But I mean, you have a tool, and this tool is your nervous system. I mean, and your subjective experience can include infinity of things. But we are trying to flow here. And why I'm talking about symptoms, I mean, intensity is subjective. But let's say conditions are objective because they are identical for most of the people. And the simplest example in this case is just the temperature. So for me, 18 degrees is subjectively freezing.
Okay.
And for you, 18 degrees is an okay temperature to sit in the t-shirt, right? So what I'm saying, objective in this case is needed for a calibration. This is it's the fixed point in the environment based on the criteria that we have chosen to compare your subjective experience.
To relate to it.
Exactly. So to an extent, you could say that objective is also subjective, but on a different level, because this is the point of fixing something into the reality, the point of comparison. But again, I'm talking a lot about this individual subjective experience, because you only through it, you get to know the world. And that is why we are having this entire, seasons labeled as cognition, because it's all about getting to know things, And objective at this point is just the measurement, like the system, like the time. Once in another trip I had a very nice insight about time. It's a very convenient thing to use in this system of coordinates. Because we need to coordinate each other. We need the reference point. Time is an okay reference point. All the physical scales like temperature, intensity, power of the electrical, circles and whatever, that's objective points, measurements that allow us to understand this picture, to create a model of this world in our associated machines, what we call the brains. And that is why.
But we're creating the model, but we think it's the whole reality, and it's not.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the reality.
That's
again,
the blind spot.
Talking about the neuroscience it's called cognitive neuroscience, and it's all about the perception. We have no idea how the world looks in reality, because everything you construct, and that's why I'm saying this is the activity of your nervous system.
I think we do, and we depend on the truth, right? Because if there was no unifying truth, then your body would not be able to respond towards anything in reality.
In this model that we're discussing,
it would be just guessing. I'm guessing it's as good as death.
In this conversation, we're having the equation where we say the truth is there. We just have no idea what that is. But without it, sorry, materialistic people, but the world is not random.
No.
That's the fact. I mean, you can argue in the comments, you can say the evolutionists and Darwin. That's what we will be talking about this.
It's purposeful.
The truth exists. We probably should have started with this point, and then we are just.
Yeah, this is always referenced. Like the furthest, by definition, the furthest point away is the reference point, because we're going there. Right? Even in a linear structure.
Well, depends, but usually
it's either that way or that way.
Not that way.
No, it's linear.
Well, if you have
towards ideal, like that pulls us towards teleology, right? Tell us that pulls us towards itself, right? But so it's our ideal, it's our reference point where we look and where we're going in both um meaning of like moving there, but also moving like kind of converging on the same like ideal point. Like
If we start speculating right now on the word ideal, it will take us too far probably. But I mean, objectivity and subjectivity in this case, and where is the truth? Because what I don't like about dogmatic and materialistic perspective is that whatever is considered objective and could be measured, and this could be evidenced by several people at the time, that is the objective truth.
That's considered part of the world that we recognize. And everything else that we cannot measure, that we cannot objectify, we just throw away because it's inconvenient for our worldview. And that's what we do.
Like this, yes. But I mean, why I'm so confused with the notion of truth, because we cannot apply in this conversation, and considering the model that we're using in this case, we cannot use that one as a point of saying that this is the absolute truth. Even that truth is relative. Even the fact, let's say we see, I don't know, the meteorite falling, right? Mm-hmm. We seem to see the objective thing, right? It happened, this is the fact, and so on. Still, the question is it the objective truth that it happened, or is it relative truth that it happened? I would still vote for relative truth, because everybody would have slightly different. So
they will, by definition, have a different perspective on it, because they will stand physically in a different place on Earth.
This is one of
that's like, well, but that's where it interacts.
So we can define truth only through our subjective experience, right? Basically.
Through our personified experience from a certain perspective. But we remember we always have overlap in our perspective. Necessarily. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to talk. We have, like, whenever we come together again to the beginning or dialogues, we come together. I'm an idiot, you're an idiot. I don't really know a lot. You don't really know a lot. Let's try to build something different. We have to overlap by like we're gonna overlap like 6%. That's not an objective measure. It's much measured, but see.
I mean, you are the only carrier of your own subjective experience.
No, I'm not the only one. Well, if I call it subjective, then probably yes.
I mean,
I'm not going to call it subjective. I don't like calling it subjective.
We are talking in the model of us being the differentiated units that obtain own subjective experience and interact with each other, attempting to.
You're trying to do materialistic thing again. You describing it as an.
Why not?
I don't like it.
So objective. I mean. I'm just saying that we are the carriers of subjective experience, and then if we are talking going into the meta models, I mean, most probably they should be connected to the entire network of experiences. We just don't experience that from the let's call it the set of the default modules or interaction modules that we have, and the ones that should be working as modules to connect us with this. We doubt that. Because we don't get sufficient evidence from the perception.
Exactly, evidence. That's when belief comes in again. Faith comes in again.
And there where the people get lost a lot.
Yeah.
That's it. Then it's just what do I have to believe in this case? So that's why the truth is relative, even if we talk about the meteorite falling.
Yeah, faith is not easy. Faith is not easy. Everybody doubts. Even the saints doubt. That's life. It's humans being human. It's called being human.
Definitely. Yes, it's kind of it's complicated.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Yeah, it's not very easy.
With too many points, and then subjective. It's I mean, what does not make me feel satisfying is again that we have so little reference points to play around with, and the ones that we could have played around with and we could have used another 2 hours playing with them around, we would still come to the idea that the truth is relevant, even though it exists as objective and
objective
where it is.
again.
Uh,
As a unifying pattern
something
of reality.
power, right?
Yes.
So there's, I mean, it's okay. Then now it's about time to bring you the Kabbalistic perspective.
Oh, go ahead.
Again, it's very rough, right? And I didn't study that well, that well yet. But I mean, in a very simple term, or in very simple terms, this is the idea of Kabbalah, as far as I understand, that there's sunshine. No.
Morning sunshine.
Morning sunshine. Oh, there is light, right? That this, from our 3D perspective, is directed somewhere, right? And we are all, and if we look at
So would be like with beaming.
it's sort of,
ray out.
if we imagine there is a ray, right, light.
That's how Jesus describes it.
Is it? Okay. Then I'll just, cite that guy. So it's just again,
Oh, that guy again.
the modeling. So if we consider that this is the stream of light, right, and that it's moving somewhere in a particular direction, and we are just the parts of this, being inside of this stream of light. So the truth is this direction of movement, sort of. And we are all
it's
by
being
default,
true to the course, right? Whenever we set a ship on the sail, right, we want to get somewhere. So you have to be true to the course to get there.
we just I have another topic that kind of fits in kind of gradually about the faith.
Mhm.
That's why I was talking that I don't like the blind faith, and it's a little bit horoscopic. But I mean, the less level of detail of the concept, the
Mhm.
more faith you can actually put into it. But at the same time, we need to consider how big is the idea.
Mhm.
So if we think that there is a course, there is a direction, and that's it, there is a direction, point. It's much easier to believe, and with the intelligence, right, or reasoning that we have, we could subscribe this direction to the events that are happening to us. That's why I kind of like this retrospective perspective, when you kind of look back
Mhm.
on what's happening with you. And that why I'm saying you are the only carrier of your subjective experience, because no matter how you try to share that with me,
Mhm.
it is impossible for me to relate to you even to 95%.
And it would be useless if you related to me like 100%, or
I see no condition under which that is possible.
it's not possible. It's not
possible.
possible by definition. Actually, Daniel Dennett proved it.
And that's the point of having being individual carrier.
Yeah.
There is all subjective experience, because everything that
because
evolves around you evolves for you.
Nope. That's the egoistic structure. Everything that is, that's the whole idea of that existential switch, right? Whenever we work with people psychologically, whenever we work with them as therapists don't really do that. People in the field that I'm, participating in, that's what we call a perspective switch, or what else? What else? Yeah, I don't think I'm ready to go there.
Yes, I'm not even sure how to support you with the ideas here and something. But I mean, in this regard, what also strikes, at least for me, that I mean, the belief that I told you that I don't like the blind belief.
Mhm.
If we take the classical religious, I don't want to have any discussions about this right now. But I mean, I will just refer to the conversations with religious dogmatics, that there is a way and there is a heaven and hell, there's no other model, and that just believe in this.
Mhm.
It doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the idea that there is a direction
Mhm.
resonates much more.
Okay.
And then we could start speculating. So is it? What is it? Doesn't matter. I mean, with our 3D shape perception, we probably won't know. And there are so many videos right now, so many ideas coming out
I think we can
in terms that we are using.
We're not percepting just 3D. We're percepting way more. This just cannot be measured right now by any material definitions of
It cannot be explained.
Machines or whatever. It can be, but not semantically or not in the way you expect it to be laid out as a scientific truth that can be proven. Like,
no, that's the thing, and that's why we're having. What I don't like about this is so many speculations that emerge.
It's good
based on this.
I like it.
It's just perspective. I mean, I just watch maybe too much shit online, and sometimes when I hear that, I mean, it's not that I'm trying to apply any scientific paradigm to this, but there's a very nice notion that could be used, which is called common sense.
Which is not common, everybody knows.
Yes, but I mean, I don't know, the most stupid example, when this COVID pandemic started. I mean, that's the easiest I could remember. The chemtrails. They were spraying COVID, and you have to wear this. All the conspiracy stuff. I think I had COVID because I wasn't wearing the proper
attire.
Exactly. No, I mean that's what kind of it goes kind of flat earthers. That's another point. I mean, they have so many arguments about proving their point of view. Where is the truth in this context? I mean, it's just subjective, and people just. I mean, there are cults that are built on energetic and chakras and energy healing. I mean, there are so many things. I mean, I'm not doubting them, but I mean, it's just it doesn't seem to be. I don't want to say the word working. It just doesn't seem to be feasible in many contexts, Or my overall impression, everything that is being mentioned, it's just a fragment of the whole.
Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes a very tiny fragment.
I think it's more though.
And when we talk about essence, I mean, so what is the essence? What is the essence? What is the essence, right?
I don't think there's essences. Well, for example, John Vervaeke doesn't really like Aristotle and an idea of essences, or even like teleology per se is an sort of coming from one shape to the other. I think it's much more. It's not that linear.
It's probably not linear at all. But I mean, what do I mean? To wrap up, I talked about essence.
I haven't finished the other point about the.
I thought you were done.
No, I thought I was too. No, about how in shifting the perspective from yourself towards the other and being for the other affords you way more perception, like possibilities for perception than just being, like you said, it's like everything for yourself, right? It's actually the other way around. Like as soon as you forget yourself, as soon as you turn your perspective towards the other person, and you start merging your worldviews, you expand your perceptions, the possibility of your perception, and it's not it's not double. It's like many times more. It's like 16 times more, like 8 times more, or whatever. It's like big shift in possibilities. But for that, you have to forget yourself. You have to that's why, again, Daniel Dennett, right? You cannot see from the other's perspective by 100%. And it would be useless if I saw from your eyes or you saw from my eyes, like 100%, because then I wouldn't be able to add anything, right? And differentiation from, again, the comment, people standing from different perspective, looking at it from different perspective, they see more because like we have this term collective cognition, right? So again, another Verbekian. Um, don't think it's he coined it, but it's in the field of neuroscience, uh, and that's how we actually exist. We're not individuals. We're not those like those Kantian independent, completely self-sufficient beings that affect one, like interact logically, right? Like, can I touch you? Can I like imagine if I did that, right? If I'm an individual that cannot affect you without your personal approval, formal approval, and then I'm like, hey Anton, can I say hello to you? Would that be okay? And then yes, and then like, can I hug you, Anton? Like it'd be stupid. Like it's a stupid form of interaction. It's not feasible. It's not possible. It's not computable at all.
Did he really mean that?
Yeah,
I just didn't know.
I think so. I think so.
So yeah,
Well,
well,
but that's where our individuality, like the notion of individuality in our, like that's the on the in the basis of crisis of meaning, right? Because we separate from our families way early. We go to other countries, other universities, like we separate from our tribes, right? We don't even have tribes anymore, right? In the sense that not in like we have tribalism still, like that is horrible, but there's right form. There's like I think there's many forms of participation. There's a right form of participation where people uh, build family structures, right? In a good way, right? Let's say, like, just for the sake of time, let's say, we could discuss it. Like that particular topic needs to have its own deep discussion, right?
we decided we'll do it in modules, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We'll think
yeah.
what's the next module will be, right?
Yeah, maybe that could be one of them. So, but that's not true that we're individuals. We all dependent on each other's perspective. We like we're dependent on each other's perspective. Like I need your perspective. Like I like to say it plainly, like I need you to watch my back, right? That's where trust comes in. Without trust, there's no watching. You can't watch my back. I won't let you. But I need to let you so I could free up my attention, right? My operation, like operating power, and direct it to whatever I'm doing, right? That's how collective cognition works. You think for me, I think for you, and we think together. That's how Dialogos starts, right?
I guess so. I mean, I'm keeping the comment in mind about the perspectives, superior perspectives have to be at least equal. Otherwise, imagine it's like this, how do you call them? The bubble, right?
Mhm.
When your bubble is bigger than the other one, I mean, your perspectives sort of collide, right? And then just bigger perspective erodes the smaller one.
What does it mean bigger in that sense?
Well, I don't know, the worldview, the positions. Let's say I'm a materialistic scientist who thinks that the world is a reaction of random processes and everything is random and so on. And I run into you.
That's not really true. You don't act that way. Nobody acts that way. Nobody.
Some people do.
Nah, they don't go very far. They learn as kids quite early what is it to do that,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I mean, but the grown-ups, the atheists, for example, and so on. So, narrow perspective. I mean,
Well,
it's
there,
just,
yeah, but
they will
still,
spend more resources more trying to convince somebody else rather than creating something that you call the result of the collective cognition, because everybody has to be, I think the expression that is used in this case, to be on the same wave is exactly how it describes the unit that is capable of,
in a sense,
of
but
collective
also
cognition.
not really no participate in all sorts of practices and structures where you don't really like you go somewhere, you hold the door for somebody, or you say hi to people, or even to people that you don't know in a cafe and restaurants, and you talk to them and you exchange, you like you exchange your perspectives regardless of the situation. So you already participate in something that has been sort of built out, structured, right? And uh, what am I trying to say?
The difference, I mean, no matter how we judge perspective, it could not be of different form and shape and size. It's an adjustable thing that you need to manipulate while beginning
yeah,
interaction with somebody else. Right?
yeah,
And
that
only
could
in
be.
this case, so you
It
don't,
would,
and egoistic in this case, meaning to push your own perspective rather than trying to listen to what's the
yeah,
perspective of
yeah,
others.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's so hard with dogmatic religious. I try. Whatever you say is, I mean, hypothetical, it sounds very nice, but I mean, in the reality, it's a very tough thing to do. And we talked today also about this artificial therapeutic alliance, right? Because this is not a human relationships, but it's a formalized relationships, and how
Yeah.
would that help?
Yeah, how
So,
can formalized relationships, fake relationships, basically build out real relationships? I don't think it's possible.
yeah, I was saying it is possible because it's another aspect that helps you to jump it out.
True, but it could like if it's again, if it's fake, it's untrue. If it's untrue, it cannot be propagated into the future. It's the basic selection structure. It has to be true to the environment and to the things that surround you and to the to the participatory structure, right? The structure in which you participate, you have to be true to that structure in order to exist there.
You just mentioned a nice criteria to defining the truth.
Yeah.
And it can be uh, predicted into the future.
Yeah, that can be propagated into the future, right? Yeah.
I think it's a nice point to wrap up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Because
no,
no matter how relative the truth could be, and we still stay in the position that it is relative, but it exists. And well, if it kind of helps you build a meaning and look into the future, then probably whatever the event is happening is the truth. Cannot say the conversation has been super successful, but I like we surfed on different ways of discussing things. Yes,
got lost a couple of times, but
yeah, it turned out to be not as intense as I thought it would be, but maybe it's a good thing that it's not. And with this, we finalized the module about Dialogos and the structure of
and we
Dialogos.
only look, come on, we just opened it up, like basically like the lid is like not even like lifted. You know, it's just
I didn't want to bring like many examples because we could have used the perspectives, the flat earthers. I could have used the scientific method, and I could, as an example, I could have used so many things. But I was thinking it would have been so pointless, and it would just bring more of variables to play around with. And for me, it would have led to more confusion rather than clarity, at least from my perspective, right? And yes, I think we will be coming back with new modules and new ideas. We will think what could be, how do you call it, logically relevant to the next one, the following one. And we hope you found something interesting for yourself. Hope you found this is an example of the dialogue when you're trying to play, with a
The ideas and forms and words and
yes, structures and trying to
Models.
convey models to explain to the other person potentially something unexplainable, right?
Okay.
And it takes time to do it. So basically, uh, and that's a simple, nice thing to say in the end is like, don't argue, right? Don't argue. Like you with other people, you will never be able to convince them.
Try to play with. Try to play with.
Second, try to play with them instead. Yeah, and you don't have to be a rough guy or a tough guy to question their perspective. You just can ask simple questions, and we call it the fool strategy. Like, oh, really? Do you think so? Why?
Well, that's not like right. How many do you explain to me?
I still think you exaggerate with that.
Well,
I still prefer having a doubt. Right? I'm coming in. I'm not sure. I'm not an idiot, but I'm not sure. I do have some experience, but I'm not sure.
right. I'm an idiot.
Not sure. I'm just not sure. Let me check your perspective, the other perspective. Let me. You don't have to fall into stereotypes and linear. There's also the linear thinking. Yeah, and there was a dream of mine. I want people to jump in between frames, right? Mm-hmm. So you are not stubborn, right? You're not rigid into defending the perspective that might potentially be wrong, right? So
in our practices, we try to do that. We teach, like we try to learn how to do it ourselves and try to teach people how to do those. Well, John Vervaeke calls it an ecology of practices, right? Where you learn to reframe and be in a find yourself in a meta position where you can sort of look at things without reacting, and we work with trying to ease the conditioning that people went through, right? And teach how to be present, first of all, and then how to react appropriately in the context, right? In the right manner, with the right intention, right? That's ideally how people. Yeah, I guess that's our vision, right?
Yeah, and this is something that we continue our dialogues about, whatever you mentioned, especially what is the right intention, because for me it still remains sort of a mystery. So at this point, yeah, thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure not to see you because we didn't see you, but you saw us. So yeah, any commenting, any response, subscribe, would be happy. And thanks for watching, and see you next time.